Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bird Notice. Billy and Ryan here. Leading off, Anthony Bemboom has cleared waivers and accepted his assignment to Norfolk. Jackson Holliday debuts for the Double-A Bowie Bay Sox. Kobe Mayo is promoted to Triple-A, and Grayson Rodriguez is recalled from Norfolk. But Ryan, what episode number is this?
Today we are recording episode number 17. That was worn by BJ Surhoff. He was the first overall pick in the 1985 draft, selected by the Brewers out of University of North Carolina. We mentioned this the other day when you brought up a trivia question. The fun fact is his father played in the NBA for 2 seasons, while his brother Rich appeared in 9 games as a relief pitcher in the major leagues in 1985. His nephew Colin Moran is currently in AAA with the Tacoma Rainiers, but has played 502 major league games. Back to BJ himself, he spent 8 years with the O's, appearing in 1,001 games, hitting 120 homers with 551 RBIs and a 291 batting average. He was a 1999 All-Star. He finished that season with 28 homers, 107 RBIs, and a 308 average. He started games at all 3 outfield positions, as well as catcher, first base, and third in his career. So he was very versatile as well. And because I had a lot of details about Surhoff, that's the only one I'm going to mention. Is there anyone I'm forgetting here that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have an honorable mention, but I had no idea BJ Surhoff was from such a prominent athletic family.
I didn't either. I also didn't know he was from like the New York City area. I knew he went to UNC because we had talked about that. Figured he was from somewhere in the southeast, but that is not the case.
Yeah, Colin Moran was in the Garrett Cole to Houston Astros trade from
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
I knew he was on Pittsburgh for a while. I didn't know that's where he came from. I think he was with Cincinnati for a bit, maybe last year. I had to look him up. He's not in the majors, hasn't been in 2023, but he's with the Seattle organization.
Yeah, like most prospects for Pittsburgh, he didn't work out.
He also went to UNC, though, which I think now makes sense. I didn't know that connection before.
His dad was in the NBA. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess he only played 2 seasons, but I mean, making the NBA is making the NBA. He clearly was good at basketball.
Yeah, that's by far the hardest sport to get into as a player. There's only like 12 spots on a team.
Right. And that's another reason why they make so much money. People
Mm-hmm.
talk about, oh, why do they get paid so much in the NBA? It's like, because there's like a dozen spots on a whole roster. Of course they get more money.
But
Yeah,
yeah, my
good for
honorable
them.
mention is Chris Sabo.
All right. I remember the rec specs he used to wear.
Yeah, those were classic. He was a second round draft choice in the 1983 draft by the Cincinnati Reds. He won the 1988 NL Rookie of the Year. He's a key contributor on the 1990 Reds World Series championship. He also played for the White Sox and the Cardinals. He spent the strike shortened 1994 season in Baltimore, appearing in 68 games and getting 66 hits and 258 at bats. 11 of those were home runs. He signed as a free agent on January 14th, 1994, to a 1-year, $2 million contract. From 2020 to 2022, he was the head baseball coach for the Akron Zips of the Mid-Atlantic Conference, where he compiled an overall record of 31 and 89.
Very nice. I did not realize Chris Sabo played for the Orioles. I mean, that was clearly a short stint, but it was. I remember him as a Cincinnati Red and for wearing those awesome glasses.
On May 15th, 2023, he was announced as the first ever manager of the Mumbai Cobras of the Baseball United League that plans to begin play later this year with 4 teams in the Middle East and South Asia.
Interesting. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, me either. Until I stumbled on Chris Sabo's Wikipedia page.
Right. Akron, University of Akron is the alma mater of Jason Taylor, my second favorite defensive player for the Miami Dolphins. And this is irrelevant to what we're talking about, but it does have a tie in. I just finished a really good book about LeBron called LeBron, written by Jeff Benedict, that was released this year. and he's from Akron, and he started that school there where every graduate gets a full ride to the University of Akron, which is pretty sweet.
He does that bike charity too.
He does a lot of stuff. I knew LeBron was a good person. I didn't know the extent of what he does and how much he puts into charities and things. It really is impressive. And for somebody who makes so much money and is so prominent, he doesn't have to do those things. But I think it's really cool that he does.
It's not too late for him to retire and spend 2 seasons playing AA baseball.
I think if anything, he would probably try to play football. That guy was in the book. It said he was getting, he wasn't getting recruited so much because basically everybody knew he wasn't going to play football. But there were, Urban Meyer when he was at Notre Dame went to go watch him, and like he could have been, I think, based on his body and his athletic ability, probably an incredible receiver.
Yeah, he's never really had a serious injury. I saw today he's changed his number back to 23.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. It's apparently to honor Bill Russell, who wore number 6. So to honor him, he's not wearing that number anymore. I don't know really how that makes sense. Maybe he has a good explanation for it, but I didn't read about it.
One thing I thought of is LeBron kind of made a mistake by choosing 23 when he came into the league. He should have taken a number and made it his own.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if he was thinking that far ahead,
Right.
but I would imagine he wore it because of Jordan.
Yeah. But yeah, we only have 3 games to cover this week. So I got some notes on the Tides that I got from their stat sheet that they keep available for people at the game. Norfolk hasn't lost consecutive games since June 21st, winning 11 of their previous 18. Since the Tides started playing at Harbor Park in 1993, they are tied for their best record through their first 86 games, matching 1995.
Yeah, they're having a great year, and Kaiser's taken a bit to get rolling, but all the guys that they've called up from Norfolk have been pretty solid contributors, I would say.
Yeah, I love how many guys from this team have played for the Tides. Um, Joey Ortiz, he had his 20th multi-hit effort this season and his 7th 3-game hitting streak. Since being optioned to the Tides on June 28th, he's played 12 games, batting .373, 19 for 51, with 14 runs scored, 8 doubles, a triple, 9 RBI, 7 walks, and 6 stolen bases.
Very solid AAA numbers. Hopefully he can do that in the majors. I think, not to be critical or anything, but if you put him in instead of Jorge Mateo, I feel like their numbers would not be much different. Ortiz would probably have better ones, aside from steals.
Yeah, if we were betting, I think Ortiz will get his chance on the roster next season, probably in the role that Mateo is playing now, just the occasional starter.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a trade, I can kind of see the O's calling him up and also Westberg to kind of see what they got at the major league level. And maybe it's an assessment of sorts on their part, but who knows?
Yeah, he's really good at AAA. I hope to see him bring that to the majors for the Orioles at some point. They became the 5th International League staff to surpass 800 strikeouts this season. Since June 28th, the Tides have struck out at least 10 batters in 8 of 12 games. Tides pitchers have struck out 10.23 batters per 9 innings in June, the second highest ratio for a calendar month in Orioles affiliate franchise history, which was May 2022 when they had 10.82 strikeouts.
That's pretty cool. So they're known for scoring runs, and seems like their pitching's doing well also. It's a good combination.
I'm sure Grayson helps inflate those numbers.
True.
Who we mentioned is getting called up, and he's starting against the Dodgers tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. I'm hoping he will have a Cole Irvin like turnaround from his Orioles debut in the season to getting sent back and returning.
At first, I thought that's a tough matchup to go against the Dodgers in your return game, but the Dodgers are countering with a rookie pitcher too.
Yeah, I looked at the schedule and they're facing Arias in the third game, but the other two guys I've never really heard of and their numbers aren't great, so they must be young.
And then Kobe Mayo and Chase McDermott were called up to AAA. They became the 61st and 62nd players to play for the Tides this season. The Tides have made 192 transactions and are on pace for a record 333.
Is that the Tides making transactions or the Orioles making
Yeah, the Orioles.
Now, McDermott came over in one of those trades last year. Was that the Lopez trade from Minnesota?
I don't think so. That was
I want to say he came from somewhere.
Povich was the Lopez trade.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. They got McDermott in the Trey Mancini deal.
Oh, yeah, and they got Seth Johnson for him, who's currently out with Tommy John.
Right.
I guess I could knock out my concourse fact while we're talking Tides. They're usually Tides related. Let's see what we got here.
Maybe we'll start talking about LeBron again after this.
All right, here's a good one. Former Tide Jake Arrieta captured the 2015 National League Cy Young Award, becoming the third former Tide to win the award after Dwight Gooden in 1985 and Mike Scott in 1986.
So we've talked about Arrieta on this podcast before. I believe we've brought up Mike Scott as well. If not, I read that book K that I talked about like a month or two ago. And I guess it was pretty well known that Mike Scott used to doctor the baseball and slop it up with whatever. But he never really got caught, and I guess years later still won't admit to doing anything like that. But I think that's why he suddenly became really good in the majors.
Yeah, I used Dwight Gooden on the Immaculate Grid a couple weeks ago for, I think it was Yankees Mets.
Oh, that's a good one. See, he's another guy. I just think of him pitching for the Mets and forget about the rest of his career.
I think he played for the Astros and the Indians also.
I would have never known that. I just think of Gooden and Strawberry, like that documentary.
Yeah, they're both intertwined.
Right.
Yeah, Indians and Astros. Oh, and Dwight Gooden also pitched for the Devil Rays.
Interesting. Maybe they'll put him in the Devil Rays Hall of Fame like they put Wade Boggs.
He pitched for 3 teams in the year 2000. He only spent 1 game with the Astros. I don't know how I remembered that.
That is impressive.
Yeah, did you watch the Home Run Derby?
Yes, I did. I really enjoy the Home Run Derby. I'm not a fan of the All-Star game these days. I mean, Adley put on a show. He was really good, and I think the format that they have, facing off against another hitter in a bracket format, was kind of what was his downfall, but it was no fault of his own. He ended up with 27 homers. The coolest part was he hit 21 home runs left-handed, and then he came back out for 30 seconds of bonus time batting right-handed, and I want to say every pitch, or maybe like 1 or 2, he didn't hit for a home run, but he ended up hitting 6 more in that 30 seconds from the right side of the plate. His dad was pitching. It was really fun. Luis Robert came up after that and was just a monster. Couldn't really, he deserved to move on over Adley, but he was very entertaining, and it was cool to watch an Oriole, and it was just fun. I was just happy seeing Adley do so well and having a good time.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it. The next morning I woke up and I watched Adley's entire performance. He gave a great answer when Buster Olney asked him how he did. He said respectable, which he did. Yeah, totally respectable.
Did he tell Buster Olney that I'm wearing 35 in spite of you?
Yeah, he should have asked for his permission. Like, have I made 35 worthy yet?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
his dad was great at pitching though. You could tell he had thrown him probably a million pitches over the course of his life.
right. And that's something that's interesting now with this timing dynamic is that you have to have a good pitcher because if you get a bunch of bad balls, you're not going to have enough time to catch up. It's not like the old one where you get a certain amount of outs so you can pick and choose what you're swinging at.
I can't complain about this too much since I don't watch, but I don't really like the head-to-head format, especially to start. Like maybe they should start out American League versus National League and then pare it down to formats after the first round or head-to-head.
Yeah, maybe take like the two from each league that hit the most and then put them in a bracket or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, Robert is in the American League and I'm not sure. I think Julio Rodriguez hit a million in the first round too. So even in that scenario, Adley wouldn't have moved on, but it was still kind of neat. One thing I was tweeting from our account while I was watching it, and I mentioned before like I even got into it, was how I can't believe they still allow children out in the outfield to catch those balls. And I was said like I can't believe a kid hasn't been killed yet. And Vlad Guerrero drilled a kid in the head. I
Oh
think in the
no.
last round, a kid was just trying to catch the ball and missed it, and it hit him in the head. I haven't heard that the kid died, so I'm assuming that means he's fine. But at some point, they need to not do that because these guys are hitting balls with like 100 plus exit velo every time. And, you know, it's, I don't understand why it's still a thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure nobody's paying attention out there. How many kids were out there? Just like 100 probably?
I don't know how many, but there's a ton. And
Right.
they're all crowded around because, like, if it's a right handed batter, they're all in left field. So you just have a ton of kids that look like they're anywhere from age like 8 to 15 maybe, and it just seems like a recipe for disaster. I'm sure it's amazing for the kids. I'm not trying to, ruin it for them, but that one kid got drilled in the head, and I don't think that'll be the last time if it keeps going.
Yeah, I don't see them ending that anytime soon.
Right. So Vlad Jr. did end up winning. It was, once Adley was out, I didn't really care. I was just looking for a show, and it was fun. A Rosarena was impressive. I didn't realize that guy is pretty slight. He's listed at like, I want to say 5'11", 185 or something, but he looks pretty jacked, and he was hitting them hard. But it was fun. How
Yeah,
about
yeah. I was gonna say Rosarena, he's fun to watch. He's always enjoying himself.
yeah? I never watched the Rays mainly because like watching anything happen at Tropicana Field is just depressing. But I think I'm a Rosarena fan after watching that.
Yeah, I became a level up fan on him from the World Baseball Classic.
Oh yeah, he's Team Mexico, right?
Yeah, which I guess he's from somewhere else, but
Yeah,
he
he's from Cuba, I think. I think they said that 3 of the 8 were from Cuba. It was Robert, Rosarena, Adolis Garcia. Those
okay.
3 guys they're all Cuban, and that was kind of cool. I mean, I looked it up, less than 12 million people in Cuba, and 3 out of the 8 were in the home run derby were from there. And that was pretty neat.
Speaking of Garcia, he made a great catch in the All Star game. Did you watch any of that?
No, tell me about the game.
Well, I missed the first inning because I went on DirecTV Stream, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, and they are currently in a negotiation with my whoever owns my local Fox affiliate. So I had to use my trusty antenna, which, if you've ever used an antenna before, can be insanely frustrating. And after moving it all around for about 20 minutes, we have a fake tree behind our TV, and I noticed if I held the antenna up over my head, I was getting a signal. And, I don't want to watch the All Star game for 3 hours holding the antenna over my head.
No.
So I placed it in the tree, and it worked great the rest of the night. But I did miss a Rosarena and Garcia's catches. I saw them on the replay after the game.
Yeah, I guess the game kind of started out with a couple really nice catches, huh?
Mm-hmm. And I love the All Star game. I don't know why. The uniforms were abysmal, though. They should go back to the team uniforms. Just wear an
I
All Star
agree.
hat. You'll sell people like me a hat.
I agree completely, especially the National League, I think it was, that had the black pants with like the dark navy. Ugh. I hate dark baseball pants. I don't like them at all. Like
Which,
gray is fine. Anything darker than that, I don't like. Anything else you want to say about the All Star game before we get into real baseball?
yeah, the ratings were set a record low, beating last year's record low. I wonder though, does that account for streaming? Like, are they just taking Nelson ratings from traditional television? Because that would definitely explain that.
I
Just
feel like by now they have a way of factoring that in, don't you think?
I would hope so, but humans are slow to catch up to these things.
Yeah, I don't know. I would guess now, especially for the TV stations themselves, like they want to know how many people are actually watching for their advertisers.
The home run derby ratings were the lowest in 5 years, down 11% from last year.
Man, I don't know what to say. I mean, the home run derby I think could be better. The All-Star game, I don't know how you make it better. It's just like the Pro Bowl and all the All-Star games stink. I mean, I don't know what the change was from 50 years ago to today, but it seemed like every sport they used to try in the All-Star game and now they don't. I think it might just be the amount of money people are making now and the realization that a game that doesn't matter, you shouldn't be putting in much effort because getting hurt is not worth it. And I don't blame them whatsoever for thinking that.
Yeah, Jordan Romano left with a some kind of back issue in this. You never want to see that happen in an All Star game.
I didn't watch, so I didn't even realize that. I wonder if he's back.
Yeah, I haven't seen. He's on my fantasy team. He's still listed as day to day, I believe.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you do get episodes like Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse, and I guess that kind of ended Fosse's career more or less. He was never the same after that. Another thing that comes to mind in the football and the Pro Bowl was when Brian Moorman did the fake punt and was running along the sideline, and Sean Taylor just absolutely lit him up. That was awesome, and I don't think either of them was hurt, but it was just like, wow, you're not used to seeing those types of collisions in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the Pro Bowl, the NBA All Star Game, and the NHL All Star Game are abysmal to watch. Baseball is, to me at least, watchable. I went to the ECHL All Star Game this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the 3-on-3 format with the teams. Nobody knew what we were watching. Uh, it, it it was fun. The atmosphere was fun and stuff, but nobody knew who was on any teams or anything.
Right. I went to the AHL one, speaking of that, years ago. It was on like, I don't know, 98 or 99 in Rochester. Speaking of All Star games, though, as much as I just shit on it, I do want to go someday. And next year it's in Texas. It's at the
Oh,
Rangers Stadium. So saying in Texas is weird, but they're called the Texas Rangers. So it's in Arlington, which is 30 minutes from here. So I'm going to find a way to go. If I have to spend too much money or not, I'm just going to do it.
yeah, yeah. You can report back to us.
I will. I'll have boots on the ground. I'll tell you about Adley's 2 home runs and Grayson starting and
Ooh.
all the great things the O's are going to do next year.
Would you try and go to the home run derby also, or just pick one out of the two?
I just try to go to one. I think the tickets, unless you're, you work for some company and you're high up enough to get free shit, then you're going to have to pay a lot. So I would choose the game itself.
Yeah, I only have two more notes on this All Star game. Did you see pregame? Cal Ripken was doing an interview with Alex Rodriguez, and Jeter was there, and it came up
Mm-hmm.
that when Alex Rodriguez pushed Cal over to shortstop in 2001 during his last All Star game, Cal was not happy about it. He said he was pissed at him for it.
Yeah, I remember seeing videos of that, and he was just like, no, shaking his head. And then Joe Torre was in the dugout and telling him to move over to short as a show of respect to Cal and all the years he spent there. It was not, I mean, I don't think many people like A Rod, but that was a nice gesture.
Yeah, I remember watching it and thinking it was a nice gesture. Cal said he was mic'd up at the time, so he couldn't tell Alex Rodriguez
Yeah,
to
yeah,
knock it
he said
off.
that. I couldn't tell you how I really felt or something like that.
And it shows he respected Torrey because he said once he got the signal from Torrey that he really had no say in the matter after that.
Right. I don't think anybody doesn't respect Torrey. Is he disliked by anybody unless you're just like a fan of a team that he used to beat all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not
I
really a
will say
fan.
that I think I've said before, I think coaches in almost every sport are overrated, and he coached managed, I should say, an amazing squad. So I don't know how much effect he really had, but I have nothing against Joe Torre.
He replaced Buck Showalter, didn't he?
Yeah, so one of my best friends who's a big Yankees fan told me a fun fact about Showalter. He got replaced by Torre, and the next year, the Yankees won the World Series. Showalter got replaced by, I think, Bochy in Arizona, and
Bob
then they won the
Brenly.
World Series. Brenly, Bochy, you're right. Both have a stash, I think. Um, and then, of course, with the O's, he got replaced and they didn't win the World Series. So that streak was over. Just like how Scotty Bowman coached like 4 different teams in the NHL, and the only one he didn't win the Stanley Cup with was Buffalo.
It might not happen in direct succession, but if Brandon Hyde does win a World Series replacing Buck Showalter, even though it wasn't the next year, the streak will still be alive.
I would take that. I don't care who manages the Orioles. That would be amazing.
And the last thing I had was Bautista took the loss in this game on a 2-run home run by Elias Diaz. If that's the only home run Felix has to give up this month, that's the time to do it in the All-Star game, a game that doesn't count.
Yeah, I heard he didn't look great, but again, I don't care. And one note about that is that if we still determine the World Series home field advantage from the All Star game, that means a 32-year-old Rockies catcher with 51 career home runs was the determining factor. And I'm glad they don't do that anymore because that is ridiculous.
I wish they still did that. I was shocked to see how many people thought they still did that. On Twitter, people were confused. They didn't know.
Really? I actually thought this Diaz was like a young prospect. I didn't know he was 32. I thought he was like 22.
He looked so happy when the game ended, knowing he was MVP.
Oh, I'm sure he was. Are you kidding? Playing for Colorado, you're already 32. That's by far the peak of his career.
I found out the next day his mom was kidnapped in Venezuela, or wherever he's from, when he played for the Pirates.
Shit, I've heard of that happening. There was somebody else who was pretty prominent in South America, like a
Oh,
Venezuelan player. I don't remember who.
I think it was Wilson Ramos.
Wilson Ramos. Oh yeah. Yeah, I do think you're right. He
Yep,
was with
that's
the
a,
Nats for a while.
yeah. Yeah, he was traded for Matt Capps, I think his name was, relief pitcher. Another
Matt
Twins trading a
Caps.
prospect for a shitty reliever.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, that's scary. Did I assume they recovered his mother and she's okay?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Any more on the All Star game?
Nope, we're on to game 90 Friday against the Marlins.
Yeah. So because of the All Star break, the O's only had 3 games this week, and they ended up going 3-0. That was a sweep of the Marlins. Quick Marlins preview. They came into the series with a 53-39 record, which was good for second place in the NL East. And I told you this. I do not pay attention much to other divisions, and I had no idea the Marlins were that good. Like if you told me they were 20 games under 500, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. I had no idea.
I knew they were sneaking up on people record wise, but I had not seen them play. I probably couldn't name 5 guys on the roster.
Right.
They are a blast to watch. I know they got swept this series. Defensively, especially Saturday night, they were great. Yeah, I was going to ask you, who do you think the Orioles play in the 2025 World Series, the Cincinnati Reds or the Miami Marlins?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't care. Just make it. Just get there and see what happens.
I also had the thought I thought was funny that the Marlins are a pretty forgettable franchise, during their entire existence, but their 2 World Series wins are 2 really fun, memorable teams, 97 and 03.
Yeah, that they promptly blew up completely and just sold off.
Yeah.
97 and 03. So my grandparents live in Florida. I think I mentioned this before. Um, and they bought me a bunch of Marlins things after they won in 1997. So I have some souvenirs still from their first World Series title. And then in '03, they beat the Yankees, and that was awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. The Marlins beat the Yankees in the World Series and the
Right.
Diamondbacks. Like they lost to two expansion teams.
Meanwhile, the O's haven't won since '83. So what does that say about them?
Right.
um, So the Marlins don't score a lot. They were 23rd in the league in runs per game, but 11th in runs allowed. As we've mentioned on a previous episode, Luis Ariz is having a great season. He came into the series batting .383 with a .905 OPS and more walks than strikeouts. And Jorge Soler had also been very good with 23 homers, which was tied for sixth in Major League Baseball. And a couple starters have been pretty good. Jesus Luzardo, who the O's didn't have to face, has been good this year. Braxton Garrett had a good season, as well as Sandy Alcantara, but he wasn't his usual dominant self up until this series started, even though he was the defending Cy Young winner.
And they sent down their rookie pitcher, Yuri Perez, for innings purposes.
Yeah, I think that's something the O's might start facing soon, but we'll not think about that for a while.
Yeah, they started an opener today after he pitched like an inning or in a third or something last night, and it was a
Yeah,
disaster.
that didn't go well for the Marlins.
Yeah, we'll get to that. There was a scary moment in the bottom of the first on a Santander flyout between Dane Myers and Sanchez had a collision in the outfield. This was only Dane Myers' seventh start.
Yeah, he was fun to watch, Dane Myers. I liked that guy. I don't
Yeah,
know jack about him, but he was fun. I think they said he's like 27 years old, so he's not a prospect, but he was good.
I agree. I looked him up. I thought he was very fun to watch too. They got him in the minor league Rule 5 draft from the Tigers. But what are the Tigers
Yeah.
doing?
I don't think I knew there was a minor league Rule 5 draft. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's pretty interesting. Like you can get a guy for $12,000, but they has to be a level above the level he was previously playing at. So if you get a guy and he plays at AAA as opposed to AA, you only have to pay like $12,000 for him.
$12,000 to a major league team is like why not just make it free? What's the point of $12,000?
Yeah, let me look this up. But yeah, the Tigers are just giving away out good outfielders now.
Well, while you're looking that up, this was a 5-2 O's victory. And the
No,
aforementioned
this wasn't 6-5. I'm on the wrong
that was
day.
Saturday.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong day. Never mind that
Oh, so
whole
was that
outfield thing.
collision on Saturday?
Yeah, that collision was Saturday.
All right. Well, pretend we're talking about Saturday in a minute.
Yeah, we're on
Um,
Friday now.
yeah. So Friday was a 5-2 win. It was Dean Kramer versus Sandy Alcantara, as I mentioned. Alcantara was decent. 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned, 8 hits allowed, though, with 1 walk, 5 Ks, and 2 homers, while Dean Kramer was better than the reigning Cy Young winner. Went 6 innings, allowed just 1 run with 2 hits, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, I got another new nickname for Dean Kramer.
All right, and this might be number 4, at least 4.
For the next week at least, he's now Dirty Dean.
Okay, Dirty Dean's good. I like that. It's silly,
And
but I
yeah,
like it.
I don't know why. I love watching him pitch. He might be my favorite starter on the Orioles.
Huh. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Bradish.
Yeah, he's fun to watch too. But
Yeah,
this
but
was Mike Devereaux's broadcast debut.
yeah, I mean, we mentioned, I think he was the first apologies I had for episode 1. Mike Devereaux. I like that guy. He didn't add a lot to the broadcast, I don't think, but it was good to have him there. Apparently, he works for the O's. They mentioned that at some point over the weekend.
I agree. He did not add a lot at all, but he was very like laid back and soft spoken. I yeah, I think if you use him sporadically, he's definitely a welcome voice in the booth.
Yeah, I think he needs to be a little more assertive when, especially when there's a play in the outfield or something happens as a hitter because you have Ben McDonald there who got the pitching side of things covered. But Mike has more to offer, I think, and he was probably just easing into things, maybe not totally used to it.
Yeah, it felt like they were prompting him to talk with questions to get him more involved.
Right. So in this game on Friday, the O's scored first after Mullins singled and advanced to third on a throwing error when he stole second, and Adam Frazier drove him in for a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, runners on third with less than 2 outs and Frazier's up. Runners have scored 9 out of 14 times, which is 64%.
I saw some clutch metric somewhere online. I know this isn't helpful because I'm giving no specific reference, but Adam Frazier was on it. Like, we've been saying for a couple months now that he seems to come through in those clutch situations, and it's nice to see the numbers bear out what you think in your brain and you're not just being delusional.
Right. Yeah. I noticed after this game that his numbers, like his basic baseball numbers, were nearly identical to Gunnar Henderson's.
Hmm.
So I sent out this tweet. It was player A batting 244 with 13 home runs, 37 RBI, 11 doubles, and 43 runs scored.
So that was Gunner.
Player B is 240, 12 home runs, 44 RBI, 12 doubles, and 40 runs scored.
Oh, I didn't realize they were that close.
Yeah.
I think the first one is Gunner still.
Yep. The first one's Gunner. But I was
Okay.
also thinking too, like Frazier gets a lot of hate, and if this were 2008, he probably would have been like their All-Star representative.
Yeah, I don't know who's hating on Frazier. I mean, then you can't have a roster full of all stars. You can't have a roster full of guys hitting 290. You know, we've mentioned before, he brings that veteran presence. He comes through in clutch situations. He seems like a likable guy. I like having him around.
Yeah, he's perfect at the bottom of the order too. He has postseason hero written all over him to me.
Let's call him Bill Mazeroski. Let's have a World Series winning home run.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Right. So the third inning, though, for Kramer was really rough. The Marlins tied it as Kramer threw 34 pitches. He
Oof.
put the first two on base with a walk and a hit by pitch. Then he had another walk sandwiched between 2 outs. So the bases were loaded with 2 outs, and Brian De La Cruz hit an RBI single to tie the game at 1. And you know, that was a really rough inning for Kramer, and they only allowed 1 run, and he got out of it with just that. So, all things considered, it could have been way worse.
He got some help with who he faced in this tough inning at the right times. When Solar came up to bat with the bases loaded, he's 0 for 8 on the season. And then with Jesus Sanchez up to bat, he's 2 for 24 and 8 RBI career with the bases loaded. He got Soler to pop up, I think, and Sanchez struck out swinging.
Yeah, usually when you have 34 pitches in 1 inning, you're allowing more than 1 run. So I think you got to take it. If you tell somebody before an inning you're gonna throw 34 pitches, but you'll only allow 1 run, you're gonna say, "Yeah, I'll take that."
Yeah, I got that wrong. He got both of them to strike out swinging. And then in the bottom of the fourth, Mullins first pitch leadoff home run, make it 2-1 O's.
And then Adam Frazier did the same later, and that made it 3-1 after 4.
Yeah, in the 68th pitch, he hit it 413 feet with 101.9 mile per hour exit velocity.
Back to Kramer, he didn't allow another hit for the rest of his outing when Brian Baker came in and also had a solid outing. And that brought us to Cano coming in. And despite the All Star break, he's had kind of a rough stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bomb he gave up to Solar.
Yeah, it was. It looked like a kind of a, what do you think it was? A changeup maybe that rode up a little higher than he wanted to, and it was inside the plate. You know, it was in the batter's box basically, and Soler got his hands out and crushed it to left field. It was kind of a line drive, but he hit it so hard that it made it out into the first couple rows over that newly heightened wall, making it 3-2. But then the O's got two more in the bottom of the inning.
Yeah, Hayes had a leadoff double. Frazier, full count, home run, his 12th of the year. He might get to that 17 number I pulled out of my ass a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you know, every time Hayes or Frazier hits a home run, I kind of think of that, where I was like, "Nah, you're crazy. He's never gotten close to that." Well, he's getting closer. Um, and it was interesting too because I feel like the O's got kind of lucky there because he probably should have walked, but a ball was called a strike, and then the next pitch he hit for a home run.
Yeah, I thought that 17 number was crazy too, but I hope he gets there. I'll definitely pat myself on the back if he does.
Exactly 17. Then you can
Yeah,
get a
no
pat on the
more.
back.
They need to sit him if he gets 17.
Right, right. Felix Bautista closed it out with two strikeouts and a shallow pop fly on 11 pitches. He just continues to be a beast. Um, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. I think it may have been Saturday, but he threw a couple splitters that were just, one was in the strike zone, just buckled the guy's knees, and then he had one that was just like a 59-footer and swung and missed. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, he didn't show any ill effects from his All-Star game appearance. Do we even need to get in that weird Seattle radio guy with the King
I
Felix
was
stuff?
gonna maybe mention that, but let's not even bother.
All right, we're back after technical difficulty. All we have left for Friday is my 3 stars. Number 3, Cedric Mullins, 3 for 4, 2 runs, 1 RBI, 1 home run. I think he benefited greatly from the All-Star break. He finished healing up and will be ready for the second half. And this proved true for 20 hours after this.
Yeah, it didn't last long, but apparently it's a different injury.
And number 2, Dirty Dean, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 11 of 23 first pitch strikes. He's 10-4, which is tied for second in the American League for wins, one behind McClanahan of Tampa Bay, who has 11.
Yeah, I think that shows how silly the win stat is, though, because McClanahan's a lot better than Kramer.
I know. I love the win stat. Just like we're never going to see a 20-game winner again, it seems like. I'm disappointed it's so devalued.
Yeah, I mean that's just how progression happens, right? I mean, people are realizing that that doesn't matter, and it's all about winning ball games and not winning pitchers. I think
What?
quality starts is a better metric.
Yeah. Was it? I think Bauman is 6-0 now. Is he 4-0 or 6-0?
He was 5-0 at some point this weekend when he was pitching. I don't know if he added another win.
Yeah, he's 6-0 now.
6, yeah, nice.
But yeah, number 1, Adam Frazier, who we've talked a lot about today. The team was 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position, and both of those came from him. He was 2 for 3.
Well done, Frazier, carrying the team. No, that was a very solid outing by him as well as Kramer and the bullpen as well. I mean, I'd say the three people that really carried them were Kramer, Frazier, and Bautista.
Yeah, now we're on to Saturday, and I was talking about the minor league Rule 5 draft, and I have it here. You can draft players from AA or lower to play for their AAA affiliates for $12,000. You can draft players from Class A or lower to play for your AA affiliate for $4,000. And then starting in 2022, the cost of selecting a player into the AAA was doubled to $24,000. So that is nothing for Dane Myers.
Yeah, I just don't understand that dollar amount to a major league club. That just doesn't mean anything. I don't get it.
And Dane Myers, I found out he went to Rice. It was a sixth-round draft pick. But Rice is a powerhouse, aren't they? Aren't they in Texas?
Yeah, Rice is in Houston. It's a very good academic school. As far as I know, baseball is like the only sport they're really good at, but I don't know how great they've been recently. I know like 10, 20 years ago, they were a really good team. I don't follow them at all. Whenever I think of Rice and the O's, I think of Wade Townsend, I think was his name. They picked him like top six, I want to say, and he didn't sign. So that kind of annoys me. I used to have a Rice hat back when I was in high school just because I thought it was cool. It has like this R with a, in the kind of like a Detroit Tigers script. But yeah, very good academic school, good baseball program, but I don't know how good they've been recently. So this game on Saturday was a 6-5 win. Kyle Gibson started. He had a very rough start, but I was surprised he lasted 5.1 innings after a 29 pitch second inning in which the Marlins took a 4-0 lead. To be honest, I thought getting five and a third out of him was good.
Yeah, he did his Jordan Lyles impression here. I was surprised he made it that far too. He got hit by a line drive early in the game. Looked like that might knock him out too. Yeah, and then the night before, Dean Kramer had a scary moment where he slipped on the mound and it looked like his foot took an awkward turn.
Yeah, that almost looked like his plant, not his plant foot. The foot he pushes off the rubber with got full of dirt or something, and he just lost his grip or something, and it spun on him.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. Lose 2/5 of your rotation in the first two games after the All Star break.
Right.
Which, speaking today, it looks like the outfielders started dropping. Hicks got scratched. Mullins left with an injury, and then Colton Cowser took a pitch off the knee.
Yeah. Injuries happen throughout a season. The O's have been relatively lucky. Fingers crossed.
But yeah, this bad inning, Yuli Gurriel singled, took an extra base on a Mullins throw to third. We talked about Mullins not trusting his arm last week. He only has one outfield assist on the season.
Yeah, that was not a great throw. At at this point, I think teams are intentionally running on him.
Yeah. And then all these hits were weird. Segura had an RBI infield single. Wendell had an RBI single. Myers had an RBI fielder's choice. It was 5 ground balls and 6 batters.
Yeah, I mean, 5 hits, all singles, plus a walk that inning. And they mentioned on the broadcast, I didn't know this, but I guess the Marlins are like 30 ahead of any other team in the majors this year with singles. So their batting average is actually not bad, but they don't hit for a lot of power and they just have a ton of singles.
I know we've been hearing about Arise all season, flirting with 400. It it would it took me by surprise when I heard he had 127 hits already, though.
He is tough. I mean, I'd never really watched him much until this series, and he's one of those guys that's just really hard to get out. Even if he's not going to get a hit, he fouled off a lot of pitches, and nothing was easy against him. I think, would he go 4 for 5 in this game on Saturday?
Yeah, I saw a tweet from at Noah Shumway, and he said that Arise went hitless in 2 of the 3 games and still hit 308 for the series.
Yeah, his average might have gone like down or maybe stayed the same. I guess it had to have gone down if it was 308 because it was 383 before the series.
And the bases were loaded for Brian De La Cruz. Here's that pop up I remembered. Cruz was a career 10 for 22 with 2 grand slams and 27 RBI with the bases loaded, and Gibson got the pop up. De La Cruz is 0 for 10 career against Gibson.
Man, it was interesting. It did seem like the Marlins didn't have a lot of variety in their lineup throughout the 3 games. And, I'm not a Marlins fan. I didn't analyze it, but it seemed like all 3 games their team was relatively the same.
And then Mountcastle returned to the starting lineup here. He had a leadoff.
He had a double,
Yeah, his second
and
hardest
then
hit ball of his career.
yeah, and Mullins drove him in. And then later in the inning, it was an interesting play. Mateo had a 2-run triple that scored Hicks and Kauser, who was pinch running for Mullins, as we'll get to in a second. Um, we mentioned the outfielder prior. What was his name? Dane something?
Dane Myers.
Dane Myers. Kind of misjudged it. I think Mateo just hit it so hard that it went over his head, and he had a great slide in the third. He was initially called out, and they reviewed it and called him safe. So the O's got it within 1 despite that terrible second inning. It was now 4-3. Now back to Mullins. It was interesting because he got on base, and after a foul ball, he took off from first and went back to the bag and came out of the game. And you don't often see a player leave in the middle of an at bat, especially from the base path. So it seemed pretty bad initially.
Yeah, that at bat, I think, too, threw Westberg off because he struck out swinging as soon as they resumed play. It was just like a sadness factory of watching Mullins leave and then Westberg strike out.
Right. And then Mateo came right up and kind of things perked up again.
Yeah, that's the Mateo you love to see. Him just blazing around the bases,
That
hitting
was
triples.
the April Mateo from 3 months ago.
And Hicks reached base when he scored. That was an 8-pitch walk that he drew.
Yeah, very solid at bat. And the opposing pitcher I don't think we've mentioned was Braxton Garrett. I mentioned him earlier as having a pretty solid season, but he was not much better than Gibson in this one. He only lasted 4 2/3, allowed 4 earned runs with 6 hits, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. So he's the one that the O's made that comeback on.
Yeah, the Marlins starters did not get very far on Saturday and Sunday.
No. So the Marlins then scored their 5th and final run off of Gibson in the 4th inning after 2 more singles and a sac fly by De La Cruz. So it was now 5-3. And in the bottom of that inning, the Orioles scored again to trim the lead to 1 when Santander drove in Adley after a double.
Yeah, Adley looked good this series. You hear people say that the home run derby can mess up your swing, and it looks like that's not the case for Rutschman.
Yeah, I guess in his case, it's kind of nice. He hits from both sides. He only took probably 8-9 swings from the right side. So even if you could say it screwed him up, he's got the other side to fall back on.
And then Gibson was removed after 5 1/3, and Bauman came in and got a 1-4-3 double play to end the inning.
Yeah, Bauman was very solid this series as well. He teamed up with 2 more guys that we'll get to in a second to hold the lead. And speaking of that lead, in the 7th inning, Gunnar hit a deep home run off Wasker Brazoban. I like that name. I looked up his name, how to say it on Baseball Reference, and it's Wasker, Huascar.
In the top of the 7th, Segura hit a 2-out, 2-strike triple to center that Kauser kind of misplayed. Mullins makes that catch, right?
Yeah, that was tough. I think the angle that
tough.
Kauser took, he knew he was going to hit the wall. And I think he was just kind of bracing for that. And he jumped when he didn't really need to. I don't know. It's hard to criticize an outfielder for that because if I was running full speed at a wall, I would probably be a little timid as well.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
might
I
just
don't mean
come
it.
with. That was also Kauser's first start at Camden Yards ever. So maybe he just needs to get a little bit more familiar. Oh, no, that wasn't even a start.
Right.
He was pinch running. That was his first game. He didn't even
Yeah.
start. So it will probably just take some time for him to get a little bit more familiar with what the outfield is like there. But
Yeah.
he could
Yeah.
have caught it. Yes. Should he have caught it? I'm not going to say he should have.
Yeah, I don't mean it as like a slam on his defense. It's more of a praise on Mullins' abilities out there.
Right. No, I agree. Mullins he's always offering something in the field if even if he's not hitting.
And I thought it was kind of ironic, like in an O. Henry type way, where pregame everyone was crying that Colton Cowser wasn't in the lineup, and it's like the baseball gods were like, "You want Colton Cowser? Well, I'm taking Cedric Mullins for a couple days then."
What do you mean by O. Henry?
Isn't that the author where like people wish for something and then they get it, but they didn't get it the way they wanted it?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's not too often I get to reference authors, so I hope I'm getting this right.
Yeah, that's a literature reference. Might go over my head. I read mostly nonfiction stuff, so.
Yeah, here it is. Oh, Henry wrote over 300 short stories. He became popular for his short, witty stories written about regular folks, often with a signature plot twist at the end.
Okay, well done.
So, yeah, the plot twist is you can have Cowser, but I'm taking Mullins.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was, really. But luckily the O's were able to pull it out in the bottom of the inning after Henderson tied it. Hayes, Rutschman, and Santander hit consecutive singles, and the O's took the lead 6-5.
Did you catch the new home run celebration after Gunner's home run in the 7th?
I don't think I did. What was new?
It was Cowser. He gave Gunnar Henderson a titty twister or purple nurple.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
It seems like he has
Cowser's
fun.
personal celebration.
Yeah, it made Gunnar laugh, like a genuine laugh.
Right. No, I don't have anything else except Bauman, Cano, and Batista finished the final 3 2/3 with no runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts.
Yeah, the bullpen is my third star. Bauman, Cano, and Batista. They were great. 49 pitches, 36 strikes, 9 of 14 first pitch strikes. 2, I had Gunnar Henderson. He was playing great defense all night, too.
Yeah, he's a very good defender. His throwing lately, he did have another throwing error in one of these games. I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. And that came on the heels of drilling that cameraman at Yankee Stadium. So need to figure that out. But as far as picking the ball, he's doing very well.
Yeah, he played 2 positions in this game, too. And Santander, 2 for 4, 2 RBI. Both balls he hit were hit really hard. I tried to get the exit velocities, but I forgot to write them down. He had the game-winning RBI. The Marlins fell to 21-7 in 1-run games after this, and 32-5 when scoring 5 or more runs.
21-7 in 1-run games.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's like that Orioles. What was it? 2012 maybe when they had that absurd record in 1-run games.
Yeah, the Jim Johnson year. Yeah, and scoring 5 or more runs, 32-5.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of like the Twins. It seems like they don't score a lot and they rely on their pitching really.
Yep. So they won that game 6-5, and now we're on to Sunday, game number 92.
Yeah, Sunday was a nice easy stroll until the 9th inning, and the O's ended up winning this game 5-4. But if you had asked me after the 8th inning what the final score would be, I would not have thought 5-4.
Yeah, Bizzardo blew a chance to maybe stay. He's got to be the guy going for Grayson tomorrow, right?
No, that guy is toast. Absolutely.
Yeah, he had such a thin line of error, and that got obliterated in this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he almost ruined an amazing start by Bradish. He went 7 1/3, no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 8 Ks. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a better start that the O's have had this year. Is there one?
Yeah, no, I don't know. He had like no hit stuff. In the 6th inning, I wasn't sure. I was like, is he allowed to hit yet?
Yeah, he had everything working, and even when he missed the zone, it was in a spot where Nobody could hit it. So he was just great. And he's been so good lately. I don't know what the numbers are, but over the past month or so, I want to say he's been one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah.
He's come a long way throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean he also looks, as you mentioned a couple episodes ago, he's very calm out there. He just looks very confident, and even if he misses a spot, he just gets right up there and throws the next one.
Yeah, the last 10 games, the Orioles are 8-2 with a 293 batting average and a 2.83 ERA, outscoring opponents by 33 runs coming into this.
Yeah, you can't do any better than that, really, in a realistic world.
And why are the Marlins using an opener in the third game after the All-Star break?
That was an interesting decision.
Especially after he pitched last night.
Yeah, they surmised on the broadcast, on the Orioles broadcast, that it was because they had so many lefties at the top of their lineup. But this guy, Steven Okert, got absolutely lit up. Gunnar and Adley started the game with consecutive doubles, and Santander homered, so it was 3-0 after 3 batters.
Yeah, Gunner's leadoff double was his first extra base hit against a lefty this season in 72 plate appearances.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah, then Hayes singled. He wasn't in the original lineup, and it was his T-shirt giveaway day.
Yeah.
I checked on eBay. There's no T-shirts listed.
They didn't have to change it from Hicks to Hayes, luckily, for the T-shirt giveaway. Just the lineup card.
Any note on Hicks? I didn't see anything.
All I heard was he had lower back discomfort, which who knows what that means. In baseball parlance, that could mean he plays tomorrow or he'll be out for 3 weeks. I have no idea.
I was thinking if Mullins, Hicks, and Cows are out, say, for a couple games this week, just from the hit by pitch that Cowser took, Mullins and Hicks we just talked about. Do you think we'd see Frazier in the outfield and maybe O'Hearn? I don't know. You'd see Hayes, Santander, and I guess Frazier.
It might depend who plays. I would say Santander goes to right, and then O'Hearn and Mountcastle play first, depending on the handedness of the starting pitcher. Then you got.
Maybe we'll finally see Mateo out there.
Yeah, you could. I mean, he's certainly got the speed. I guess he played in spring training some in center field, I want to say.
There's some highlight he made a great catch for the Padres a few years ago that people cling to, that he could play the outfield.
Yeah, who knows? Hopefully at least one of those guys, if not more, are ready to play tomorrow, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So after that...
Then Frazier got... I was going to say Frazier got hit by a pitch then after Cowser.
Yeah, there were consecutive hit batters in the fourth inning by George Soriano, and that allowed Arias to score on a fielder's choice by James McCann because Arias had walked before those hit batters, and it was a 4-0 ball game. So this is the point where it's like, all right, Bradish is cruising, the O's are up 4-0, should be a relatively easy victory.
And then in the bottom of the fifth, I was surprised to see Johnny Cueto. Why not just start him, even if you have to use him as the opener?
I don't know.
He ended up pitching 3 innings.
I kind of forgot about that guy, but he was pretty good. I mean, he's been a good, like a solid major league starter for a long time.
Yeah, this was only his second game of the season, his first since returning from the injured list. And yeah, that was, I don't know. They should have pitched him to open the game.
Yeah, in hindsight, absolutely. But who knows what. Skip Schumacher is their manager now. He's got a big old tattoo sleeve on his left arm. Thought that was interesting.
I didn't see
You
that.
don't see that on many major league managers. Not like Bobby Cox and Joe Torre walking around with a sleeve on their...
Yeah, the bottom of the eighth, we got to see old friend Tanner Scott pitch for the Marlins. He's having a really good season for them.
Yeah, he really is. And at that point, it was 5-0 O's, and neither team really did much offensively until the top of the ninth when Edward Bazardo came in and almost completely blew the game.
Yeah, I have some more on Tanner Scott. He was traded by the Orioles on April 3rd, 2022, in a curious move at the time. He was traded alongside Cole Sulser for Kevin Guerrero, who is still only 19, and Antonio Veliz, who is 26 and an A ball with Aberdeen, currently sporting a 6.39 ERA in 12
And
innings.
wasn't that like right before the season started, like March or April?
Right, and everyone was confused by it. I was too at the time, but both those guys had to be traded to make room for Bautista and Cionel Perez, I would imagine,
Hmm.
who broke out last year.
Okay, that puts a little more perspective on it. I guess that makes sense in hindsight. If
Right.
they knew that was the result, or maybe it was like we
Yeah.
traded these guys. Who do we bring up? I don't know. How about Batista and Perez?
Yeah, they both worked out. And then, yeah, also Baker only threw, what, 4 pitches in the eighth? He should have pitched the ninth.
Yeah, he had pitched earlier in the series, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But I guess if you're gonna bring up a guy from AAA like Bazardo, a 5-0 lead in the ninth is a pretty low leverage situation to see what he's got, and he just showed that he's not ready for the majors yet.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially if they knew he was getting sent down for Grayson tomorrow, and you can save Baker in that case. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So he came in and was pretty terrible, and Coulomb came in and wasn't great himself. But at that point, the league was big enough for them to hold on for the 5-4 win.
Yeah, Danny Coulomb's first career save and 233 career appearances.
Yeah, and he allowed an earned run in like 2/3 of an inning. He wasn't even good with no strikeouts and 2 hits allowed. But
Yeah.
congrats on the save. Shows how much that save stat matters, my lord.
Maybe he'll keep the ball.
I don't know. So yeah, I mean it was a nice easy win until the ninth inning when I was actually sitting here writing notes for what we were going to talk about, and I was like, the Orioles are going to win 5-2. I was like, all right, the Orioles are going to win 5-3. Orioles 5-4, and I was like, oh god, they better not lose.
And it started raining too, which made things messy.
Yeah, I mean, as far as wins and losses go, 3-0 is the best you could hope for, obviously. But the uh, the game today and Saturday, to a lesser extent, were a little closer than you would hope.
Yeah, they'll be playing close games all season, it seems like.
True, true. Well, that lowers that ridiculous Marlins one-run game record by 2 there.
Yeah. All I have left is the 3 stars. You got anything else?
Nope.
Yeah, number one is Kyle Bradish, of course. 7 1/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. His ERA is now down to 3.05, 18 of 27 first pitch strikes. Santander, number two, 1 for 3, 1 home run, 1 walk, 2 RBI. He's on here a lot. And number three is the Orioles uniforms for not having a uniform patch on the sleeve. That ADT ad is brutal.
I will say one thing. It is at least a color that the Marlins have on their uniform. I think that should be a requirement. Like if it was yellow or something, it would be way worse.
Yeah, we're gonna see that eventually. I think. I think the uniform ads on the jerseys is the worst thing in baseball history, and the worst thing that Rob Manfred has done.
I I am not as bothered by it as you, I guess. I feel like the NBA, as we mentioned, they make, I don't know if they make more money than baseball, but it wouldn't surprise me. They certainly are more popular and get better ratings, and they have ads on their uniforms. The NHL
Yeah,
is less popular and gets lower ratings than Major League Baseball, and they have ads on their uniforms. So like, what is baseball gonna do? It's just kind of the next frontier, and The most popular
Hmm.
sport in the world is soccer, and almost every soccer team has an enormous ad. Their logo is like a little patch on the chest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's where we're heading with this.
I don't enjoy it. I don't prefer it, but it just seems inevitable to me. And I think as long as it blends in and isn't too ridiculous looking, I think I'm fine with it. Just because I think it's gonna happen either way, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely coming to a ballpark near you. It's only a matter of time before the Orioles have one on their uniforms. And like we said a while back, it's still amazing that the Camden Yards naming rights have never been sold yet.
Didn't they say this week that the Yankees are getting one too? An ad on their
Yeah,
jersey?
I have a note there, and I can't believe the Yankees would sell out like that.
I mean, that's if the Yankees are doing it, then every team's gonna do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised they weren't the first team to do it, to be honest. I think the Padres were.
I don't know. I just think if the Yankees are taking the money, then and they need it the least, then everybody will.
Yeah, yeah, everybody's doing it eventually. Who would be a good Orioles advertiser? What's orange or black?
Natty Bow, Old Bay,
Oh, I wonder if you would get one of those barcodes.
like a
I'm
QR
blanking on the
code.
name. Yeah, the QR code just right there on the sleeve.
I mean, the point is that people can click on it, like do it with their phone. You're not gonna do it while you're watching a live game.
Yeah, if you're watching TV, you just take a picture of that sleeve.
Nobody's gonna do that.
Yeah, so all I have left is my apology.
Yeah, real quick before that, the O's have a real tough week coming up. They have 7 games against 2 of the top 4 teams in baseball. Mind you, the Orioles are one of those top 4. But the Dodgers come to Baltimore for 3, and then the O's finish the week with 4 against Tampa in St. Petersburg, the worst stadium in the league. So they've got 7 games coming up against very good opponents. So we'll see where they stand after that, especially that Rays series. That'll have a lot to say about the division.
Yeah, then the Phillies, Yankees, and Blue Jays.
Phillies and Yankees, I'm not scared of. I feel like the Blue Jays are better than both of those teams.
Yeah, do you want to go first on the apology?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeremy Guthrie. Now, he's a guy who was pretty solid for the O's. He spent 5 years in Baltimore. He made 153 starts in those 5 years. Twice led the league in losses with 17 in both '09 and 2011. But at the same time, his career ERA with the O's was 4.12, and he had 3 seasons with ERAs under 4. So overall, he was very solid for the Orioles. Um, Seemed like a very solid person, and that's all I got. Jeremy Guthrie.
Yeah, it looks like he was out of baseball in 2016 and returned to pitch one game for the Nationals in 2017 at the age of 38. His ERA was 135.
Oh God, he gave up 10 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. How do you, with 4 walks and 6 hits? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I want to know more about that.
I bet it's on YouTube somewhere. Who do you got?
Uh, oh, I got Todd Zeal.
Oh, all right.
He's a good name to know for the Immaculate Grid because he played everywhere. He played for 11 teams.
Did he
One of those
really?
teams was one of those teams was the 96 Orioles. He was acquired on August 29th, 1996 along with Pete Incaviglia from the Phillies for 2 players to be named later. They ended up being Calvin Maduro and Garrett Stevenson. Zeal got in 29 games with the O's, scoring 17 runs with 28 hits and 132 at bats, 5 home runs and 19 RBI, while striking out 16 times and drawing 15 walks, batting .239. He left as a free agent after the season to sign with the Dodgers. He currently does pre and post game on SNY for the Mets.
Speaking of the Mets, I was going to say, I always think of Todd Zeal as a Met, and I'm looking at him now that you brought him up. He only spent 3 years out of his career with the Mets. And, and he's played 16, but somehow he's just been tied to the Mets in my brain, and now he's on TV with them. So he must have been tied with them himself.
Yeah, 11 teams is a lot. I even looked at him for this, and I don't even think I could name half the teams he played for.
Oh, hell no. I would have said the Mets. That's it.
It's the Mets, Dodgers, Marlins. That might be it.
He spent almost half his career in St. Louis. No idea. That's where it started.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Would have never known.
He was in that Bobby Bonilla, Mike Piazza trade, I believe.
Let's check it out. Let's see. According to Baseball Reference, he was part of a huge trade in 2002. All right, 98, traded by the Dodgers with Mike Piazza to the Florida Marlins for Manuel Barrios, Bobby Bonilla, Jim Eisenreich, Charles Johnson, and Gary Sheffield.
Yeah, that's a great trade.
I always forget Piazza was on the Marlins. He was there for like a month or two, and then they traded him to the Mets. It was very short.
Not even. I think it was like, I think it was 5 games.
5 games. Damn, you are right. It is 5 games. Don't mess with Billy. He knows that.
That's all I got.
Dodgers Rays. Big week coming up. We'll see how the O's do. And Grayson's back tomorrow night. Looking forward to that.
Yep. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.